two brands that sound the same. There's who, what, where, and we wore what. Maybe this is.
Oh, yes.
And Danielle is with one of them. This is not. This is the other one that sounds the same with the 3 W's. We're like Canada, Australia. I don't know. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley and I am a reseller on Poshmark based in Canada. If you enjoy reseller content, thrift hauls, interviews with other resellers, I would love for you to give this video a like and be sure to subscribe to my channel so that you're notified when I have a new video. I am really excited because I've been doing this interview series with other resellers and we're going international now. We're taking it outside of North America and I'm really excited to introduce you to my Australian friend, Cara, and we're going to chat about all things reselling. Hi, Cara. How are you?
Hi, Ashley. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. It's fun because we met because I got to do a Posh and Sip with the Poshmark Australia team, and you were in attendance at that event. And we started following each other on Instagram after that. And I was like, she seems so fun. I love what she's doing. So I'm really excited to have you on the channel.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, that Posh and Sip was my first one. It was really interesting because they had obviously the people in all the different offices in Poshmark and then sort of everyone around Australia just coming into the Zoom call, and it was really fun.
I love that. It was very fun to like meet all of you, and Poshmark Australia is so new for y'all. And we're going to get into that a little bit later into this interview. But yeah, that was a really, really fun event. Tell me about you. How long have you been reselling?
I've been reselling. I guess I didn't know the term reselling when I started reselling. I think a lot of people kind of do the same thing where they're like, I'm just going to sell maybe some things out of my closet or something along those lines. My sort of experience goes back to probably when I was a teenager, around 17, and I had like a love of vintage jewelry. So like costume jewelry, so the really big like rhinestones and like 50s and 60s sort of stuff. I was actually like importing it from America and then selling it on Etsy. So I was like paying for my collection. So I would pick things out of this huge, obviously now shipping is so expensive from the US, I couldn't even probably do it to break even. But at the time it wasn't so bad. And I was getting these huge expensive lots of jewelry, like paying $500, and I would get like 70 pieces. I would pick the ones that I liked and then I would sell the ones that I didn't. And then it sort of grew from there because I thought, well, if I can do that, then I can do other things like clothes. And I think I did like a couple of things now and again, but where it really started was probably about 4 years ago, where I thought, oh, I can't make more money than what I am on my salary. So I sort of started thinking about a side hustle. And I thought, well, I can sell clothes because I love not just vintage clothes, but, you know, everything, fashion. So decided that would be something I would do. And I actually saved like quite a bit of money towards our house. So that was really good to be able to contribute something more than what I was on.
That's amazing. So do you still sell on Etsy?
Do you know what? I have a funny story. Today, I actually sold a few things on Etsy previously, like I did hard goods. So I was doing jewelry and then I decided to go into like more like ceramics and stuff. I have a deep love for also like vintage teacups and things like that. And then I sort of stopped that for a little while and then I started adding clothes again because I have a love of vintage clothes as well. And I sold this beautiful like Diana Freese gown. So she's like an 80s designer. It was a while ago. I sold it to Japan. It was really, really good sale. But recently today, actually, I sold something on Etsy and I didn't realize it for 2 weeks. Because I know it's like the reseller's worst nightmare. So I got PTSD now from just someone saying Etsy, but I just realized it because something was wrong with my Etsy app and I didn't realize there was no notification. You know how you usually get like the little, like you get a notification or you get like the thing on your Etsy app to say you've got one. It didn't say that. And I think I had one item on there and it sold and I didn't know. I'm so embarrassed to say that because like my shipping time on eBay is pretty much nearly 1 day. Like I'm getting them out all the time. I'm a top rated seller on eBay. So to have that happen is like my worst nightmare. I messaged the buyer and I was like, oh my God, I am so sorry. I don't know why they hadn't like messaged me or anything like that. I said, I'm sending it express right now. You know, I'm so sorry, but I don't know what else I could have done. They were in Malaysia. It was so random.
Wow. Oh yeah, that is one of our worst nightmares, to be like, oh my gosh, I sold the thing and I didn't know and I didn't get it shipped.
For 2 weeks or something. That's ridiculous. I'm actually a good reseller, guys.
We're like 5 minutes in and people are like, ooh, yeah. What's happening?
Are you sure you're good at this?
Are you sure? So selling on Etsy sort of sometimes. What other platforms do you sell on?
I did like dabble in Depop a little bit. I suppose Australia has very limited markets compared to Canada, the US, and things like that. Well, yeah, I know you guys have like, you're just getting the drip feeds as well from America now as well. But we're like behind you guys. So we've just got Poshmark, like we said. We've had Depop for a little while. So I dipped my toes in there. I actually did like fairly decently, but all my platforms have sort of dropped off a little bit because I'm really focusing on eBay because I'm getting like so much traction. And you feel like you probably shouldn't put everything into one basket, but I have at the moment. Definitely would go back to Depop, especially in Australia. It's very like fashion centric Y2K 90s. I don't know if that's the same. Do you guys have Depop in Canada or?
We do, and I just got it like a couple weeks ago to explore, and I was like, I don't understand this. I think I'm too old. Like
it's probably the same as in Australia because I was scrolling through recently and just like these pair of boobs popped up, and I was like, whoa, like is that allowed? And it is. So you know, girls wearing like sheer things, and I was like, wow. Okay.
I mean, live your best life. But yeah, I explored it. I downloaded Depop and the Real one night because I've just been exploring kind of what's available. And Depop we have, but yeah, the aesthetic, just I was like, I don't think this is for me. I don't think I'm going to enjoy it. And then the Real, we can order from the Real in Canada, but shipping is $25 flat rate US. And I'm like, ooh, I don't, okay, cool. Unless I want something and get a really great deal, I don't know that I'm going to be doing that. And we can't actually sell on the Real. Maybe that'll change in the future. Okay. Yeah.
Because it's the Real where you send in your items and it's like a kit and then they end up processing it whenever they want sort of thing. Is that sort of how? Yeah.
That's sort of my understanding of it. And the Real is generally like higher end luxury items. And yeah, they take away kind of like the processing, the shipping, they sort of do that. But anyway, we don't have access to that in Canada. So
I've had a sneaky peek on the Real. I always like, if I hear something about like a certain platform that I've never heard of before, which I've heard of the Real, I've probably known about it for a couple of years. And sometimes I just hop on there and see like what's selling in different countries, just as like I'm nosy.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And, you know, we were starting to chat about this before I pressed record, but it is really interesting to be a reseller in a different country and to just know and see what's selling in America, in Canada, you know, in other places, just to understand the trends and just to see how it goes for everyone else. So you're a full-time reseller.
I am a full-time reseller.
What were you doing before? And, you know, I know you shared your story a little bit at the beginning, but like what clicked for you that you were like, I'm going to go full time now?
So I used to work for a recruitment company and I used to live in a different state called Western Australia. I live in South Australia and Western Australia, I lived there for about 5 years and I worked for this recruitment company there. I sort of did like a bit of admin and then I sort of worked my way up a little bit. I did sort of like project management and things like that on large scale recruitment projects. So I could be doing things like working on like prison officer jobs and things like that. So but there could be like 1,000 applications and then we would interview 500 people and really large scale projects like that. And then when I came back to South Australia, I told my boss, I'm moving and, I'm sorry, like I have to leave. I don't want to leave, but we wanted to go back home. And she said, look, I think we could do this where you work at home. I was like, well, I would definitely give that a try because that's the dream, isn't it? Working at home. So we did it and it worked, and I did it for years at home, and it was a really great job and a really great pay, and I was super, super lucky, great boss, but I had this passion for reselling, and it was just something that I enjoyed, and I put so much work into it after hours. So my husband would tell you that I had 2 jobs. I was doing my full-time job, and then I would go and list 20 things at nighttime. I was going hard. I think you mentioned in one of your recent videos that like you deep dive into something if you really like it, and it's the same for me. I was just full on with it, and I think I sort of started seeing the potential of full-time reselling when I saw others around me on Instagram think about that and doing like these really big numbers, and it pushed me, because I know that sometimes people don't like or have like a certain adherence to seeing people's like numbers on eBay or Poshmark or anything like that, but I find it really interesting, and it pushes me to try to get to that point as well. And I didn't have Instagram sort of to start with when I started reselling. I found it as I made my way through, as I thought, well, surely there's other people doing this, and that's when I sort of found it. And it was August last year that I went full time, and it was just, I wanted, even though I had a good amount of time working at home and not having to do like that commute, I still wanted to be the owner of like my time.
That's awesome. That's really cool to hear. And I feel like, project managing 1,000 applications and interviewing 500 people sets you up for success when you're like, I have X number of items in my inventory that I need to manage, and just like have all the things.
Yeah, it's definitely helped. A huge part of what I did for a long time was customer service. Mostly those customers were people I was going to be interviewing, anything like that, or clients. But it definitely has helped me. I'm super organized, and that showed in my job, and it shows in like the way that I resell as well.
So as a full-time reseller, how many pieces of inventory do you have at a given time? And it sounds like you have a combination of clothing and hard goods. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, I do. So at the moment, I'm trying to stick to around 1,000 listings. I'm happy to go over a little bit. I work out of 2 rooms in my house. This one here is where it's quite large. I do my photographs in it. It's sort of a living space as well. But it just acts as like a large space for me to do what I need. But then I have my inventory in obviously like a smaller room, and it's only got so much space. So I try to keep it to 1,000 listings, and it works for me because I'm sort of at that point at the moment where I'm turning over like about 800 sort of items in a 90-day period. Yeah, so like compared to my 1,000 listings, and then being able to still turn over 800 out of 1,000 listings sort of really is working for me at the moment. I definitely would like to scale more, but it's also about finding that product as well. I guess I'm sourcing mostly from op shops, which you guys call thrift stores, and we call thrift stores as well now. But yeah, I mean, I do a little bit of online arbitrage and things like that. And I sort of try to get my inventory from anywhere I can, really. So, but yeah, I have 1,000 listings and would like to scale more, but we'll see how I go.
Yeah, 1,000 listings and then like a sell-through rate of 800 over 90 days is like very good.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just I guess honing your skills eventually, like down to, I'm not niched, but I do have, as you said, like a mix of hard goods and clothes, like majority clothes. I'm really picky with hard goods because they take up so much space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I pick up like a ceramic or something like that, I want it to move fairly quickly, and it's hard to do that if you maybe don't have the experience in that sort of stuff. Like you can't just pick up any pretty ceramic and sell it. It still needs to be, it's like a piece of clothing really as well. Like it's got to be a good style, it's got to be a good brand, like that sort of stuff. So limited space, but I'm still trying to pick up like a mix of things.
So I want to talk about brands a little bit. We were chatting a little bit about this before. Sorry, I only pressed record at a certain time and you missed part of the conversation. So I want to bring it back. Tell me about some brands that are popular in Australia.
Oh, we have so many. I mean, like the ones that I can think of off the top of my head that are super popular, things like Review, Hue, Tiger Lily, City Chic, which I know the US are starting to have that brand as well, but I'm pretty sure it was sort of founded in Australia. We've got Country Road, Witchery. I mean, I pick up a lot of different vintage brands as well, which the brand obviously doesn't matter fully. But yeah, we get like a bit of a crossover, I guess, with you guys. I'm trying to think of stuff like Tory Burch and things like that. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of any at the moment, other sort of Canadian American brands. But yeah, there's just so much out there and completely different from what you guys know.
Yeah, so different. And it is so interesting to like learn about other brands from other countries. And even being a Canadian reseller, I remember when I first started reselling, I watched a lot of videos from folks in the US and they were talking about all these brands. And I was like, what? I've never seen that. Like, when am I going to buy that? Like, where am I going to get that? So it is cool to understand like the differences within your own region and knowing what sells and like, for you, what does well in Australia and what you love to sell too. I think that makes such a big difference.
I always tell people that do not sell. Well, I mean, there's stuff that I sell that I don't love, but there's also the idea of like having a death pile. And eventually, if you're going to pick up things that you absolutely hate listing, you're obviously not going to list it. So it's just going to sit there. So just pick up things that you like. Actually, today I picked up a pair of Rock Revival jeans, which is an American brand, I think. Do you know that one?
I've heard of it. I don't know that I've ever seen it.
Yeah, they're actually on my rack right here.
I love it. Show and tell.
They're just completely ridiculous. Like, oh my. Yeah. But I wouldn't have known that without watching like American resellers. I mean, I probably would have looked it up if I saw it in the store. I was like, well, this is interesting.
What are you with all of your stitching? What does an average week look like for you?
I don't like have a specific routine. I do things a certain way. But usually I have like a 2-day. I give myself a 2-day turnaround with my post just in case something goes wrong. I don't have just like that 1 day sort of shipping time, even though people say as a full-time reseller, you probably should be shipping every day, but I'm just doing my own thing. I do my post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I would do that in the morning and like pack everything up, all my orders, and then definitely doing my listings. So I'm usually listing about 15 to 20 items a day just to keep up with the amount of items that I do sell. And then like I'll just do like eBay tidy ups. I'll just have a look at like everything that's going on in my store, messages, things like that. Looking at any sort of clearing like listings and things like that, selling similar, making sure that I haven't made any mistakes in like recent listings and seeing how they're going, doing any sort of sales if I want to. And then there's obviously like the sourcing aspect. I actually haven't sourced all week this week, except for today. Usually I try to go out quite a bit just because I need that stock. Like if I'm listing 20 items a day, I need that. And I mean, if I'm doing a full day sourcing, it can get really tiring, like coming home and then doing the 20 listings. But I really do try to keep that momentum going, trying to list every day. It doesn't happen all the time. Like I was saying before, I didn't do that, but I did sell similar on like 20 plus items instead of like new items, which worked. Like I just got a sale before from an item that I relisted. It had sat there for ages, like it was super stale. But it sold within like half an hour of me relisting it. So
amazing. Do you have lots of op shops in your area? Like how far do you need to travel to source?
Adelaide's not huge. South Australia is big, but so I live in Adelaide, which is like the main town of South Australia. But around my area, I have a ton of op shops and they're actually really great ones. They're independent. So they're not like Salvation Army or Goodwill. We have those, a lot of them, but in my area, I have like a lot of church op shops, which are smaller, but they usually have a lot of gems in them, which I am lucky to be able to have the ones that are cheaper near me, because our pricing in Adelaide, and I think in Australia, is going up like so much. It's fashionable to thrift now, so prices are jacked up, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the same thing is happening in Canada and in the US as well. Which is challenging when you're a reseller. And it's one thing when
I was just going to say, you like have to pivot. If I'm not getting the items that I want, I have to think about other avenues and things like that, which I have, but definitely like still sourcing from op shops is my main way of sourcing. So like I paid $13 in I'll show you the tag of our Salvation Armies. They do like a boutique tag now. So they have a boutique section. So here's our little boutique. Yeah, it's like Salvation Army boutique. I love it. And then, actually, I had paid $11 for those. Okay. So I don't know how sort of like that would be with jeans that you guys pick up in Canada. Would that be sort of similar?
Yes. Basically, where I tend to thrift, it's like sometimes you'll find some for like $7 or $8, but often it's in that like 10, 12, 14, depending on the style.
14, 25.
Just buying jeans full price at that point.
I know. We might as well go retail.
It's wild. It's so wild. What's your favorite part of reselling?
Just like the thrill of sourcing is great. But also I love taking photos. I know that people don't like doing that, and it can be the bane of people's existence if they're a reseller, but I just really enjoy it, and I've got a great flow, and it doesn't take me that long to do the listing process. And I mean, all parts of the reselling process is like something that we have to do, but I really enjoy that process and the photos that like I've improved over time, and I know that my photos are selling that item, so I try to be, as good as I can be with those, and I'll keep developing it and things like that. But that's one of my favorite parts. And obviously, just being able to, as a full timer, being able to do what I like when I like, or if I need to do something like in an emergency, I don't have to take time off of work or ask a boss what to do and things like that.
That's awesome. And on the flip side, I know all the tasks are sort of necessary, but what is your least favorite part?
I really don't like measuring at the moment. My back hurts. I'm old. I don't like that. And like probably postage, I've come to like a little bit more because I've got more of a flow now. But when I didn't have everything in place, like I have all my gear here, so I can easily like grab a satchel, put it in, like it's a flow now. But before it was like something was over here and something was over there, and it would just take me forever. So I don't love doing that, but I mean, they have to get their items, so it has to get done.
Yeah, it's a necessary part of things for sure. Yeah, having everything in one spot makes such a big difference. You don't even think that, it's going to make such a huge difference, but it could cut down the time that you have. It doesn't take me that long. I could probably ship 40 items in like a couple, like maybe an hour and a half, maybe. Yeah, so not too bad. You mentioned earlier that your previous experience with your job really helped you with customer service. So do you think that there's anything that you do differently when it comes to customer service in your business?
I think I own up to any mistakes. I don't try to, we have I don't know if this is a saying in Canada, but beat around the bush. So like I just make sure that I'm open and honest with people. Like if I've ever, missed something and I'm about to send the item out, which absolutely sucks, but we've all done it. And like I'm just upfront with people, and, I work it out. I'm quite good at diffusing situations as well, because I've done that a lot. I've worked with a lot of terrible personalities, so even if people are being rude and things like that, I'm really straightforward, but I'm also, you know, open to talking about it and making sure that they go away happy, and things like that. So actually the other night, I had this really expensive jacket. It was red Valentino that sold, and the lady bought it and she hadn't paid for it. I don't know if it was a lady or a gentleman, but they messaged me and said, "Is this coat red?" I was like, what are you talking about? And it wasn't red, it was black and white.
Right, but it was like, red Valentino.
Red Valentino. I was like, are you mixing up but how could you think that? Because the pictures are there. So anyway, I wasn't being rude, but I probably was like a little bit, I was like, oh, have I done something wrong? And I was a little bit short with them, just being like, oh, the coat isn't red, I'm not sure what you mean. And I probably should have been a bit softer with my communication style, but I wasn't. I think I had put in, like, eBay takes stuff from the title and puts it into item specifics, and I hadn't noticed. And so in the item specifics, it said that it was red. And he thought that the item was red, even though in my pictures it wasn't. Like, they thought maybe it was like I was just showing the item. But anyway, they got annoyed at me for like talking the way that I did. I was like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to come across. I kind of panicked a little bit. I said, look, definitely not being condescending or anything. I'm sorry for all that. And we had a chat, and I said, look, I'm going to send this express shipping for you because of all the confusion. And they went away really happy, and they said they would be a return customer. So it was a confusing situation. It was so confusing.
Yeah, I think that's something that can be so challenging about reselling, and that's different about like traditional retail, is you're getting these messages via text, right? And there's no body language, there's no inflection. And, depending on that person's like level of comfort in the online space, like sometimes people will come across as like very direct or rude in their comments when really they're just asking a question. And
exactly. And I mean, usually I try to have like more of a softer style, but I was kind of just like put off a little bit. I was like, are they joking or
right?
Yeah. But anyway, it turned out really well, and it was a great sale. So
amazing. It ended up really good, and I love that.
Customer service is I kind of take pride in it, but I'm also well aware of people that there's a lot of time wasters out there, and like time is like super precious. So especially as someone running like a small business, there's so many hours in a day. So like getting constant questions about an item over and over again, like you can sort of start to tell when people are not even going to buy the item. So when you start spotting those things, I guess you can get a little bit, it might sound condescending in the way that you come across. So I guess I also have to start thinking like, okay, take it a little bit back and make sure you don't sound rude.
Yeah. And I think sometimes what's hard too is like, you might have answered 10 questions in that day, but this is the first time that individual is asking a question. And so trying to have that like fresh eyes, fresh perspective to be like, okay, this person, this is their first time asking this question. How can I show up for them, even though I've answered 15 questions today?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It sounds like you started Instagram after you had started reselling. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how Instagram and YouTube have impacted your reselling business.
So much. I don't think that I would have taken reselling as far as I have if I hadn't sort of gotten into the Australian reselling community, especially. I have made some amazing friendships with people online, which is incredible. And I've been able to meet those people. And actually, 2 of my best friends are resellers, and they live about 15 minutes away from me, and I would not have met them if it wasn't for Instagram. So they're a couple, and one of them is full-time, and they're amazing. But apart from that, it just gives me at the moment, like a little bit of a communication outlet to others that do the same thing as me, but also not just that, like there's friendships there and people I can talk to every day, whereas I don't have colleagues now. So it can get a little bit lonely, but I don't even feel that loneliness, I guess, because I have Instagram there and even YouTube. It's a bit of a creative outlet. I do find it hard to sort of get those videos up, but I need to like make that time. But it's definitely something that I like to get involved in. And the Australian reselling community is just, it's growing and growing. Like it started super small. I was on Instagram. I've been on there for a couple of years now. And just to see the huge growth in reselling is really like exciting. And I don't think that like it's going to impact me at all. I know that some people think that, you know, we should keep reselling quiet and you know, not talk about it too much and things like that. But I don't know, people are going to find about it anyway. You know, people aren't silly, and they know that if there's lots of stuff in the thrift store, that they possibly could sell it. And I mean, it just comes back to the fact that there's enough to go around. And I think that lots of people should do it, even if it's just like a side hustle. And I don't take offense to like new resellers. Like it's so fun to have new people in the community and being able to see everyone like over in the US. Like I count people over in the US like as friends, and I talk to them a lot. So it's exciting to be able to just like know people all over the place.
Totally. Yeah. I think the community is something that surprised me the most about reselling. Like I initially thought I was just going to sell some things out of my closet and make some money back from them. But sort of similar to you, I met one of my best friends in reselling, and like she and I message every day. And, you know, it's so lovely. And she's someone who I probably wouldn't have met otherwise, but has become a great part of my life, both from a reselling perspective, but also just from like a friendship perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that like abundance mindset is really important because, you know, yes, like when there's more people reselling, maybe there's fewer things in the op shop or the thrift store, but there's no shortage of things there. And what everyone is selling is different. And I think like the more people that are on eBay, on Poshmark, on Depop, and all of these platforms, like there's no shortage of buyers.
Yeah, definitely. There, especially because of the marketplace booming at the moment, as in the secondhand marketplace. I think I've seen that grow even from when I first started. You know, I was getting so many sales and there was, you know, this many buyers, but it seems like even though maybe I'm doing better in my reselling business, I've changed things. I think that over the years, it's just grown and grown. You can just see it. And I think probably COVID affected it a little bit as well, with people buying online. More people at home, more people buying online. I probably accelerated the market like many, many years.
Yeah. Speaking of COVID and the pandemic,
yes. You guys are in lockdown at the moment again?
I've been in lockdown since November, like with like a short break. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. I want everyone to be safe, and like I'd like to see it improve. But yeah, lockdown it's been difficult, and I just you know, I want to like go thrifting. I want to go and like see friends.
Have a meal.
Oh my god, I haven't eaten in a restaurant in over a year, like, which is just so wild. How has COVID and the pandemic impacted your business?
I don't like to say it, but probably in a good way, which sounds awful. And I don't like to say it, but it hasn't impacted it in a bad way. Like it's just accelerated the secondhand market. I think people are looking for sustainable now, and they're at home, so they're going to buy it online. I guess Australia's different. Like we're so lucky here, and we know that like every day, like we talk about it, you know, seeing all these awful things happening all over the world, and we still have restrictions and things like that. We have border closures often, and I know that's something that a lot of other countries haven't done, but pretty much when there's like a COVID cluster, they shut down. So like no one can go out of the state, no one goes in the state, sort of thing. So I think that's helped a lot. Yeah, it's definitely accelerated it. And I saw that even when we did go into lockdowns and things like that, there was a few last year where it was like it was sort of early on, I guess, and when COVID was, started coming to Australia, and it was a little bit scary. Like, we locked down here, and it wasn't for very long, but I sort of understand it. And my husband actually, he was in a different state for a really long time. He didn't come home for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Which is, so it was really bad, because he couldn't get back, because Melbourne in Victoria was in lockdown. So he wasn't allowed to come home. So that's how strict they are about it.
I was supposed to come to Australia last year for a wedding.
Really? No way. Oh, that sucks. Did you have it planned? Did you book stuff, or?
So kind of, and no. So so my partner is from Hong Kong, but his family is split between Hong Kong and Australia. And his nephew was going to be getting married in Australia, and we were going to be going to the wedding. It was supposed to be last April. And because we were talking to them in Hong Kong, we had visibility into the pandemic sooner than folks in Canada or the US, just because we were seeing it unfold in Hong Kong. Yeah. And so we took a trip to another wedding. 2020 was supposed to be the year of weddings. We took a trip to another wedding in February, and kind of around that time we were like, I don't know. And I have an autoimmune disease. And so I was like, with everything that's happening, like, I don't think I'm going to be able to go to this wedding. And so we told the family, Ashley's not going to go to the wedding, probably, I think, at the end of February. And then everything started to unfold, and it became very apparent that no one was going to be able to go to this wedding. And the couple ended up canceling the wedding in Australia and having a very small courthouse ceremony in Hong Kong, which we watched on Facebook. It was a Facebook live streamed wedding, a sentence I never thought I would utter, but it's a thing that we did last year.
Live wedding. Probably a lot of people are going to have those from now on, even when we sort of look at COVID in the future, and, they're like, let's just do a Facebook live wedding.
I think that, this whole experience has changed the future for a lot of things. Like, I think the wedding industry, I think the world of work, so many people work from home now. And it was so interesting to hear about your experience working in recruiting, because you working from another state, that was something you had to get permission to do. And it sounds like they made an exception for you. Whereas now, working from home, people have realized how much potential there is there, and how much easier it is for folks to actually do that.
Yeah, I also thought it would be something maybe good to come out of COVID eventually, is that people are going to be able to have a little bit more free time without that commute, and potential employers understanding that it's okay to work from home, and you can trust your well, I'm sure that you can't trust everyone, but there's a lot of us out there that know that we need to get our stuff done, and that we can be trusted, rather than being micromanaged in an office when you don't even need to be there.
Totally. Yeah. Also, I can't I've been thinking about this recently, where I'm like, I used to leave the house at 8 a.m. and go to work, and then commute and do things after work. And I had this very intensive schedule. I'm like, what was that life that I was living? So different.
Yeah. I mean, I used to get up, even when I lived in a different state, and I was working in the office, I would get up at 5 o'clock. And I would take my dogs for a walk to make sure that they were okay, and they weren't, really sad during the day. And then I'd get ready, and that's something I do miss though. I really love getting ready for work. That's why I put makeup on every day, and I put something on, and people see me on Instagram, they're like, why is she dressed every single day when she just is at home? It's just something I love to do. Definitely miss that. But I mean, I would get home at 5 o'clock at night. That's a long day.
That is a long day. It's a totally different time. Also, I love that you get dressed and put on makeup and just go about your day, even though you are working from home. I'm very similar.
Even in my job, like you are.
It makes me feel good. And I think it just gives me a distinction between when the day is starting and when it's ending. Also, then when the day is over, you put on sweatpants and you're like, yes, I can relax now.
To do something, I get out of my pajamas, put even just some pair of jeans on or something like that. But don't always put on a face of makeup. But if I'm wanting to go out and do things. It just makes me feel a little bit nicer, do my hair. I mean, I've got all these beautiful clothes that I've thrifted for myself. What am I supposed to do? Like, never wear them?
I love that. So in that vein, do you have a favorite item or a couple favorite items that you've purchased either to resell or for yourself?
One that I can think of that I sold, which I really wish I hadn't. So over the last few years, I've started really being obsessed with vintage clothes, and just gaining like more knowledge on that. And I sort of comes off of the fact that I love lots of different vintage sort of categories. And I just sort of fell into vintage from like noticing like quirky fun things, and like vintage is. And I would be like, oh, what's this? And oh, that's an unusual tag. I've never seen that. And then I would research it and I would find more about vintage fashion. And so it's probably been a good like 5 years since I've been doing that. And I feel like I have a pretty good gauge on like vintage clothes. This dress I found once, it was a 60s maxi dress, and it still had its tags on it. So it was like a dead stock 60s dress. It was just the most amazing thing. I sold it for great money. I think it was like $150, but I so regret it. It was the most beautiful piece ever. And it wasn't even like a really small size, because vintage tends to be on the smaller side. It was actually a really great size, and it was so pretty. It was green, and it was like this really beautiful cotton, and it was just like a summer dress. So beautiful. So definitely regret selling that. And one of the highlights, because I've never found something that pristine, and it was like museum worthy. Like it was just really great. For myself, I found so many beautiful vintage pieces. My recent one was this really amazing vintage cardigan, pure wool, but it's got all of this beautiful embroidery all down the arms, and like bobbles and like little baubles all over it. And it's just the most beautifully made piece. Like I think I definitely tend to go towards like quality pieces, like beautiful coats and things like that. I absolutely love. So I've actually decided to start collecting vintage clothes, which is probably not a great idea considering I was supposed to be selling, but I've just got to that point because I've been really good. Like if I want something, I go, no, like I have a business, I need to sell it. But I've come to the point where I'm thinking it's like even like a micro investment, because one day, vintage is scarce at the moment, but think about in 20 years, it's going to be even more scarce. So if I can get those beautiful, amazing pieces and maybe keep them for a little while, and then sell them later, I think that's a little cool, fun thing to do.
That's awesome. I love that. It is always dangerous. And I can only imagine with the volume that you do, like you see so many things that are beautiful, or like fantastic or unique. And you have to find that line of like, no, I do need to sell that. Like, I do not need this. And especially when you consider storage, and then, I'm glad you're finding pieces that you love and keeping them for yourself, but also finding that line of like, no, I'm also going to sell these.
I mean, it's the same like with the storage situation. I've got a ample storage, but I was getting to that point, and I'm not sure if you've ever gotten to this point before, where like you're finding that your wardrobe is just so full of things, and I wasn't wearing all of them, and I was keeping things that I shouldn't have been, even though I was like, oh, maybe if like a few inches, like I could fit into it if I lost a little bit of weight. Like I was in that sort of headspace where I was like, okay, well, I'll keep it aside for myself. But I haven't been doing that for quite a while, and I feel like my wardrobe is more me now, rather than it just being full of like thrifted pieces that I absolutely love. But that's because that's why I'm a reseller. I get to buy that thing and then I get to sell it.
Speaking of selling things, what has been your best flip?
Super random, but I bought it was a game. It was a floppy disk game.
So random. I love it.
Very random. It's like one of my best flips, and it was quite a few years ago now. I don't know if you know the game Doom.
Yes.
But it was like a 90s game. Anyway, I picked it up from a thrift store. I think it was like $20. And I sold it for 500.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was a really good sale. I sort of knew it was good when I grabbed it. And the op shop obviously like knew that it was good because they priced it at 20. But I knew better than them. I was like, it's definitely worth more than 20. Like, not many of these must be around. Grabbed it, and I think I put it on an auction, and that it sold. I think it was like a 10-day auction, so I got $500 back from that. But a lot of like clothing stuff, I've sort of gotten to like the 200, 250 mark, flipping things, like that coat that I was talking about, that was $5 into 190, which is really good. But a lot of the stuff that I've been able to flip that's really expensive has been more of like that collectible sort of nature, like the game. I picked up a box of books from a garage sale once, and they were Warhammer books, and going back to that sort of like gaming stuff. And I made so much money on that. He was like, oh, just $5. And there was like 50 books in there. And it was insane. I was like, okay. And I just, multiple books sold for $200. It was just ridiculous. Like, I must have made $1,000+ on that lot. It was just incredible. So, I mean, I don't know if your viewers want to like know about that sort of stuff, but that's definitely, been something that I've done in the past. Just going out of my comfort zone a little bit and learning. We've got so much information at our hands in this day and age. Like, why not go a little bit out of your comfort zone and pick something up that's like not clothing and try to flip it, especially if you're buying in at like not a huge cost.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I think that's really cool that you were able to like go outside of that and see value in an item, either the floppy disk game or the books, and just like try it out and see. And obviously the return was so huge for you. Very cool.
Good.
So Poshmark Australia launched. How's it been going for you?
It was going okay. I was like really excited and things like that. And I sold a couple of items. But recently I mentioned to you on Instagram the other day that for weeks now I haven't been able to post anything on Posh, and it was like a glitch. Even though like if I updated my app and things like that, or like deleted it and upload, I got onto Posh support, and it was like they kept asking me questions, and I was like, but it's still not working. And so I thought, I'm just going to leave it for a little while. And yeah, it sort of prompted me yesterday when I sort of spoke to you about it. I was like, I wonder if I can list on Posh now. And I can.
Oh, yay!
So I'm definitely going to get back into it. I can see it becoming a platform that people are going to like get onto and hopefully love. I know that there's quite a few resellers, Australian resellers, that are going really well with it. So it's such a nice thing to have another avenue to sell. It has like very different sort of things from eBay. So like the sharing aspect, I really have to sort of get into that and remind myself that that's like a function that I need to do. Because on eBay, you post something, you sort of set and forget a little bit, not all the time. But generally like I'll list something and it will sell and I don't have to like share it. But I understand like the aspect of Poshmark of like the community and things like that and sharing each other's things. And I really like enjoy seeing everyone else's items and sort of sharing those and things like that. But it's going to take some getting used to, I guess. And now that I'm like, do I niche down? I think that was a question that I asked you guys on the Posh and Sip. I was like, do we niche? Should I was thinking like niching down just a little bit, rather than just like putting everything on there and having a little bit more of like an aesthetic closet. So that's probably something that I'm going to look into a little bit more going forwards probably.
Yeah. And I think with the volume of items that you have, that might be a good strategy for you to utilize Poshmark. And then it's super clear for you of like, okay, these are the items I'm going to list on Poshmark and see how it goes. Just because you have that volume, and then it's not overwhelming where you're like, cool, I'm going to go list 900 items over there.
Yeah, that's, I guess, something I think has stopped me a little bit, because we don't really have cross listing programs. Not that I know of, really. Like, what's the one?
Vending, list perfectly. None of them work in Canada either. It's very frustrating.
I'm like, well, why do the US people get it and we don't?
Oh my gosh, but the bane of my existence, honestly. Yeah, it is so frustrating to me.
I want it. Like, come on over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely list more on Posh if I could get something like that, because obviously I do have a huge amount of inventory, so it'd be really quite easy for me to go, okay, like I'm gonna get that to come across. Even though I see people selling things now on Poshmark, and I'm like, oh, you know, they have a plant and I don't have a plant. Like okay. They have a ladder and things like that, and I'm like, oh, I'm such a white background girl. Like, my photos aren't I don't think they're very stale or anything like that. They're just like, this is what it is. But like, I have like a nice dress mannequin and things like that for my eBay photos, and I do take absolute pride in them, but they are very eBay centric, I guess. You know, they're that white background, like, this is what the item is. I suppose it's like, you know, with Depop, I actually take photos. Well, I don't like show this, but I'm not out there doing that. But I would take them. Like, I have really beautiful gray like floors. They sort of look like hardwood, but it's just like those clicky sort of ones that click together. And taking photos on them for Depop has, like, I've gotten like quite a bit of interest, like in items, just from doing that, rather than like having my white background. So I'm like, do I flat lay on Poshmark instead, rather than just like having the white background? But I do want it to be all very like similar, like all my pictures, I really want them to sort of flow.
With Poshmark, for me personally, all my hanging photos are just on a white background. I have a little command hook on our closet door, and that's where I take them.
I have one too.
Great. Love a command hook. I'm like, best $4 I've ever spent. And I do take flat lay photos. I have like, it's over here. I have this very professional piece of cardboard.
Ooh, the marble. Yep.
Yeah, which I purchased on Amazon for like, I don't even know what, but I do flat lay photos on that. And for some,
I've seen some of your what solds and how you do like your jeans and stuff, and then you had like the little board, and I was like, oh, that's so cute.
Thank you. Yeah, the little board, it was something like I saw someone do something similar, and I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. I'm gonna make that my thing for jeans. I really like selling jeans, and I'll just kind of like do it in a batch, and it's made jeans like a great category for me. So I think like with photos, there's no right or wrong. You just need to figure out what works for you and what's sustainable and like what you can do.
Yeah, and I'm all about why I really like eBay, and that whole like the photographing process for me is like really easy right now. And I want to make things look really nice, but I also, because of how many items I'm listing, needs to be fast. Like I can't be, you know, trying to make it look too pretty, because it's just going to slow down my listing time and my productivity a little bit. So I guess I need to find that line, like where that line is, to photograph a little bit differently for Poshmark, and find the rhythm and like what's going to start selling a little bit more for me. Because I had probably like 50 items on there, but the thing is, because like I'm selling them on eBay as well, so I'm taking them down, like I'm putting them up and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take it off Poshmark now. So I don't know if that's affecting my closet at all. Like, I'm not sure how that works, but who knows? Have you heard of anything like that, if I'm like taking listings down? And
no, I think that should be fine. But Poshmark is similar to eBay, where they like you to be listing new things, right? So I think it's less about what's coming down and more about what's going up.
Definitely need to like put more items up. I think I need to go, okay, well, I'm going to put like 10 items on Posh every day. I'm definitely going to see more success, because I know you got to feed the beast, and definitely need to start doing that. And now that I can actually list, I am going to do that.
I love it. I'm so glad you can list again. Also, Vendu, list perfectly, Prime Lister, all of the companies, come over to Canada, come over to Australia. There is a
we have money too.
Market waiting for you.
Oh my God. And like the reselling community must be so big in Canada as well. And like we're still small, but I think so many resellers, if they just came over, I'd be like, I've got 30, 40 people now that would want you.
Same. I have said this in another video. I'm like, I will affiliate the crap out of it. I will sell that to all of the people.
Give me the link.
Help me. Oh, it's a whole thing. Okay. I get really thinking about it because I think for us too, like Australia, you're far away from North America, but like you still see what's happening here. For us in Canada, like America is next to us. Like it's so close, and yet so like far. What advice do you have for people getting started with reselling?
I think coming back to listing what we love, making sure that you're thrifting your house before you decide to be a reseller. You will have so much in your house to sell, and then use that money instead of like reaching into your pocket straight away and going to the thrift and, looking through everything and buying stuff. You're going to make hundreds and hundreds of dollars, even thousands of dollars from your house. So definitely do that. And then just having fun. Don't do it if you don't like it, because it's going to be a chore. And make sure you have a good inventory system from the start. If you're going to, keep building, that's something I didn't actually do for a little while. I was just chucking things in tubs and I'll find it. And I've got 5 tubs and I'm like, where is everything?
Yeah. How do you stay organized with your inventory now?
Most of the time I'm organized. I actually was complaining the other day on Instagram that I hadn't put a SKU on something. And I don't do it frequently, but I guess because I have to keep telling myself I am doing a high number of sales. So of course something's going to slip through the system sometime. But I don't have an inventory spreadsheet, but I just use eBay SKU system, and I add like my tub number to eBay or wherever it's located. Most things are in tubs, and I'm doing like ABC, etc., etc. And it's pretty organized. But I get those ones where I go, oh no, like there's no SKU there. I actually put how much the item costs after the SKU number as well, just so that like if I'm out and about or like I can't remember how much I paid for something, even though I have a bit of a weird ability, even if 6 months later I'm like, I paid $2 for that, even though like I can't remember what I had for breakfast. Like, it's so ridiculous. But I think if you really love reselling, that's something that you're definitely going to be able to do, is remember like a place by the thrift store or something like that. But I add that in after my SKU so that I know and I feel happy with like taking an offer or something like that on an item.
Where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me on Instagram and YouTube. So my Instagram is thriftypixie1. And then on you, I know,
not just Thrifty Pixie, but Thrifty Pixie.
Girl who has Thrifty Pixie, hit me up. I'm just jealous. Like I look at her sometimes. I'm like, you don't even use your account. Like, please delete it so I can change my name. Super random name, but it has like a little bit of a story behind it. Like obsessed with Harry Potter, and there's a scene in Harry Potter where one of the professors like lets out these like pixies. I don't know, it's like a bit of a play on words. And then YouTube is just Thrifty Pixie, so you should just be able to type that in, I think, and find me. But very active on Instagram. I'm on there all the time, just showing like what I'm doing day to day, and YouTube is sort of a special occasion thing at the moment, but I would love to do more on there. I love being part of the YouTube community. I've met like quite a few really nice people through there and through Instagram, so I'm super happy to have chats and stuff. So yeah, DM me. We can have a little chat.
I'll be sure to leave all the links for your socials in the description of this video. Thank you so much for this conversation. It was so fun to learn more about your reselling journey, how things are going in Australia, and just like how you've come to be so successful in your business reselling on eBay and Poshmark, sometimes Etsy, dabbling in Depop.
Sometimes Etsy.
Sometimes Etsy. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this interview between the two of us, please be sure to give it a like, and I will see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Ashley.